Do you remember that feeling of seeing a highway giant rumbling across the horizon with that deep roar that seemed to shake the pavement? Back in the 1980s, American trucks weren't just machines built to haul cargo. They were symbols of power, freedom, and style on wheels. They carried the weight of the country and along the way became true legends of the ride. Now imagine going back to that golden era of heavy-duty trucking when engines felt alive. The designs demanded respect, and every mile told a story that stuck with an entire generation. But the big question is, which trucks truly ruled the 1980s? Get ready, because we're about to take a nostalgic ride through the most iconic, powerful, and unforgettable trucks of the decade. Machines that won hearts, stood the test of time, and still leave people speechless today. Stick around until the very end, because the truck in the #1 spot is nothing short of an absolute road legend, and once you see it, you'll know exactly why. Diamond Rio. Diamond Rio had seen its share of ups and downs over the decades, but it was in the 1980s that this brand truly carved out its place as a reliable and functional workhorse. Built in the United States by Diamond Rio Trucks, the result of a merger between Rio Motor Company and Diamond T. This model stood out as a survivor in an increasingly competitive and high-tech market. Most 1980s versions were powered by inline 6-cylinder Detroit diesel engines with around 12 liters of displacement and between 290 and 350 horsepower. Torque came in at roughly 885 pound-feet, enough to handle long hauls with steady performance. It wasn't the fastest, but it delivered with consistency, reaching top speeds around 68 miles per hour. The standard 10-speed manual transmission was built for sustained torque. Rear-wheel drive was typical, with heavy-duty leaf spring suspension providing toughness and stability for rougher terrain and heavy loads. Visually, the Diamond Rio had a more understated look, but featured the long nose style classic to American rigs. It didn't shout for attention, but its solid construction spoke volumes. The deep, metallic roar of its Detroit engine was unforgettable for anyone who spent time behind the wheel. These trucks were commonly used for regional freight, construction supply transport, and other demanding jobs thanks to their mechanical simplicity and durability. They were real workhorses, the kind of truck that just got the job done. Though it never achieved the fame of some of the trucks higher up on this list, the Diamond Rio has since become a collector's item, remembered as one of the last holdouts of old-school, all-steel truck design. And here's a fun fact. A handful of 1980s-era Diamond Rios are still running at agricultural fairs across the U.S., often retrofitted with modern equipment, proof of just how tough these machines were. Hold on tight, because the next truck on our list brings even more muscle and legacy. Autocar DC 100. The Autocar DC 100 was the very definition of durability. Built by Autocar, the oldest truck manufacturer in America still in operation, this 1980s beast was made to endure the harshest working conditions imaginable. Under the hood, you'd typically find a 14-liter inline-6 Cummins engine, delivering between 300 and 400 horsepower, depending on the spec. Torque was enormous, often exceeding 1,100 pound-feet, giving this rig serious climbing and pulling power. Acceleration was slow but steady, with a top speed of around 65 miles per hour, perfect for the jobs it was built to do. The DC 100 came with a manual transmission, up to 13 gears, focused on torque control. Gear changes were heavy and demanded experience. Rear-wheel drive and a heavy-duty leaf spring suspension gave it solid performance on challenging terrain. From mines and forests to massive construction sites, it wasn't flashy. The design was boxy, industrial, and built like a tank. Extended cabs, thick bumpers, round headlights. This truck looked like it could punch through a mountain. And the sound? That Cummins growl echoed like a national anthem across job sites and highways alike. This truck was a staple in off-road operations, timber hauling, quarry runs, and large-scale infrastructure projects. Its reputation was built on surviving where other trucks failed. Today, restored DC 100s can still be found in vintage truck shows and enthusiast meetups. And here's a lesser-known story. One of these trucks was used in emergency rescue missions during historic snowstorms in the US back in the 1980s. It didn't flinch. If you thought that one was tough, get ready, The next one brings even more nostalgia. International Harvester Loadstar. The International Loadstar was the go-to truck for utility, versatility, and compact strength. Built by International Harvester, it became a staple across urban and rural America from the 1960s into the 1980s. 1980s models were often powered by 392 cubic inch gasoline V8s, putting out around 200 horsepower and about 400 pound-feet of torque. Modest numbers compared to the monsters on this list, but more than enough for local and mid-range tasks. Top speed was around 62 miles per hour. It wasn't about speed, but smooth, consistent power. A 5-speed manual transmission was standard, with short gear ratios perfect for start-stop tasks. Rear-wheel drive and semi-elliptic spring suspension made it ideal for dirt roads, farmlands, and municipal use. The Loadstar had a more compact design, with straight cabin lines and integrated headlights, a look instantly recognizable to anyone who lived through the era. The V8 gave off a quieter rumble, but one that old-school drivers knew and loved. You'd see these trucks everywhere: adapted school buses, garbage trucks, utility service vehicles, and farm haulers. If you lived in a small American town, chances are you saw one every day. Here's a fun twist. Some Loadstars were converted into food trucks back in the 80s, way before that became trendy. Just another sign of how versatile this rig was. Love that blend of utility and muscle? Wait until you see the next truck, a true symbol of tradition with serious presence. International Transstar 4100 Series. The International Transstar 4100 Series was a step forward in both power and driver comfort. Built by Navistar International, this Tron was designed to tackle long-haul routes with performance, dependability, and a focus on making life behind the wheel just a little easier. In the 1980s, many models came with the 8V92 Detroit diesel V8, a powerhouse that cranked out up to 435 horsepower and nearly 1,330 pound-feet of torque. This engine was made for the open road. It wasn't about quick acceleration, but smooth and consistent pulling power. Top speed hovered around 75 miles per hour, which was more than enough for cross-country hauls. The 13-speed manual transmission was standard, requiring skill to operate, but rewarding experienced drivers with full control over every load. Suspension systems on the more advanced versions combined leaf springs with air ride, while dual rear axles provided reliable traction on all kinds of terrain. The cabin was roomy, with enough space for extended sleeper configurations. On the outside, the look was tough and squared off, big fenders, straight lines, and a front end that looked all business. The 8V92 engine produced a loud, raspy metallic growl that you could hear long before the truck came into view. These trucks were kings of the interstate, pulling everything from containers to agricultural goods coast to coast. For many drivers, the Transstar 4100 was a stepping stone to legendary brands like Peterbilt and Kenworth. One cool piece of trivia: several Transtars were used in major event logistics, including hauling stage equipment for the legendary Live Aid concert in 1985. If it needed moving, the Transstar could handle it. And the next truck? It brings a timeless, classic design that still turns heads today. Western Star 4900. The Western Star 4900 rolled into the 1980s with power, style, and attitude. Built for strength and customization, it quickly became a favorite among owner-operators who wanted a truck that could work hard and stand out while doing it. Most 1980s models were equipped with either Detroit diesel or Cummins engines, the most popular being the 14-liter Cummins Big Cam, delivering up to 475 horsepower and over 1,475 pound-feet of torque. It was built to dominate steep hills and long flats alike. Top speed? Around 78 miles per hour, quite the feat for a truck this size. The manual transmission offered 13 or 15 gears, built for maximum efficiency and control. With heavy-duty leaf springs and optional air suspension systems, ride quality was impressive for the time. Dual rear axles provided steady traction across all terrain. But let's talk looks. The Western Star 4900 had that lawn nose design, a bold chrome grille, polished aluminum fuel tanks, and twin vertical stacks. The cab interior was surprisingly upscale. Analog gauges, wide seating, and wood-grain dash panels added a touch of class. It was built for versatility too, handling everything from logs and tankers to oversized loads. The 4900 wasn't just a machine, it was a statement. And here's something that says a lot. Many drivers took such pride in their 4900s that they invested in custom paint jobs, chrome packages, and interior upgrades. You didn't just drive a Western Star, you showed it off. If you're enjoying this ride through America's most iconic trucks, now's the time. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. We've got plenty more road legends coming your way, and trust me, the top 5 are jaw-dropping. Ford LTL 9000. The Ford LTL 9000 wasn't just a truck, it was a neck-breaker. Launched as the premium version of the Louisville line, the LTL 9000 stood as Ford's bold entry into the long-haul heavy-duty segment of the 1980s, and it came in swinging. Under the hood, it boasted Cummins or Caterpillar engines. One of the most respected was the Cummins NTC, a 14-liter beast putting out up to 475 horsepower and more than 1,475 pound-feet of torque. Despite its bulk, the LTL 9000 could hit speeds around 78 miles per hour. Impressive for a truck this size. It ran a 13 or 15-speed Eaton Fuller manual transmission, with long gears ideal for wide-open highways. Dual rear axles paired with air suspension delivered a surprisingly smooth ride, a cut above most of its contemporaries. But the real magic was in its design. Long hood, bold chrome V-shaped grille, dual vertical stacks, and a raised roof sleeper cab with plenty of room to stretch. Inside, it had a full analog dash, high-end seats, and controls that felt solid and built to last. The engine's low, booming rumble let everyone know this truck meant business. Used primarily for heavy freight, grain, lumber, and industrial cargo, the LTL 9000 was a favorite among independent drivers. It wasn't just powerful, it looked the part too. Some dealers even offered personalized packages with custom paint and wood interior trim. That's how much pride came with owning one. Think cabovers were going out of style back then? Think again. The next truck made them cooler than ever. White Freightliner Cabover COE. The White Freightliner Cabover or COE cabover engine was the ultimate square-body legend of the 1980s. With its compact design and front-entry cab, it became wildly popular among drivers in states with strict total vehicle length laws. Originally built by White Motor Company in collaboration with Freightliner, these rigs came with Detroit diesel 8V71 or 8V92 engines. Two-stroke V8s pushing between 318 and 435 horsepower. Torque? Over 1,180 pound-feet, enough to pull a full load over steep passes without blinking. Top speed was about 75 miles per hour, fast for a truck of its era. The manual gearbox had up to 13 speeds designed for precision, not ease. Rear-wheel drive and double axles were standard, with tough leaf spring setups and optional air ride systems for added comfort. Visually, it was unmistakable. Flat windshield, integrated headlights, compact cabin, and that iconic front step entry. The Detroit engine's roar was sharp, raspy, and echoed through tunnels like thunder. These rigs were a staple in urban and interstate transport, especially where space was tight. You'd see them at ports, shipping yards, and regional depots all across the country. And here's something fun. A lot of drivers added decals, custom lighting, and paint jobs to stand out, turning these rigs into rolling art pieces long before custom truck shows were a thing. Like those old-school square cabs? Wait until you see the most iconic one of all. Kenworth K100 Cabover, Double Cab. The Kenworth K100 Cabover with its signature double sleeper cab was more than a truck, it was a pop culture icon. Seen in movies, commercials, and even action figures, the K100 represented cutting-edge cabover design during the 1980s. Powered by 14-liter Cummins engines, like the Big Cam 3, it produced up to 475 horsepower and over 1,475 pound-feet of torque. This wasn't just a city rig. It could handle full loads with ease and still cruise comfortably at over 78 miles per hour. The 13 or 18-speed manual transmission was built for skilled hands, offering control across every gear range. With parabolic springs and air ride in the cab, the K100 was surprisingly comfortable, and its short wheelbase made tight turns a breeze. Its appearance was unforgettable. Raised, double sleeper, upper side windows, chrome stacks, and a big square face that screamed Kenworth. The engine's vibration filled the whole cab. Drivers didn't just operate the K100, they lived in it. And remember this? The K100 was the star of BJ and the Bear, one of the most famous trucking TV shows ever. That series inspired a generation to dream of hitting the road in a Kenworth. Even today, many are restored to factory condition, collectors keeping the legend alive, chrome and all. But while the K100 is a cultural hero, the next truck on our list is a mechanical masterpiece. Peterbilt 359. The Peterbilt 359 isn't just admired, it's worshipped. Built from the 1960s through the early 1980s, it hit peak popularity during the 80s and became a rolling work of art for owner-operators who demanded both performance and classic style. The most common setup was the Cummins NTC 400, a 14-liter engine putting out 400 horsepower, and about 1,365 pound-feet of torque. It didn't surge forward, it built speed gradually and steadily, topping out around 78 miles per hour. A 13 or 18-speed manual transmission was standard, combining strength and fine control. With a mix of leaf springs and air suspension, it provided a smooth ride even on rough pavement. Rear-wheel drive and a reinforced chassis made it nearly indestructible. But the looks, timeless. Long nose, rounded headlights, vertical stacks, and chrome everywhere. The cab featured wood trim, clean gauges, and enough personality to make every mile feel like home. The engine sound was deep, clean, and powerful. Music to any trucker's ears. Many owner-operators stuck with their 359s for decades, and you'll still find some on the road today, proudly restored and running strong. Here's something cool. The 359 was used as the menacing truck in Steven Spielberg's cult classic Duel. And while that specific one came earlier, it launched the truck into stardom for years to come. Take a deep breath. The final truck on our list is the undisputed king of the American highway. Kenworth W900. If there's one truck that captures the soul of American trucking, it's the Kenworth W900. First launched in 1961, it truly came into its own during the 1980s, setting the gold standard for long-haul rigs. Power, luxury, and legend, all in one machine. With 14-liter Cummins engines or the Caterpillar 3406, the W900 delivered between 400 and 500 horsepower, with torque figures topping 1,550 pound-feet. Its top speed was around 81 miles per hour. And despite its massive frame, it accelerated smoothly and confidently. The W900 usually ran an 18-speed manual, demanding real skill but giving full command of its performance. Reinforced suspension, a dual rear axle, and air ride systems made it stable, strong, and surprisingly comfortable for a truck its size. And visually, it's a masterpiece. That long nose, polished tanks, chrome grille, dual stacks, and an interior that felt more like a luxury RV. Wood trim, custom lighting, plush seats. The W900 was built for the open road and those who loved it. You'd see it hauling high-value freight, running coast to coast, or parked at truck shows with a mirror finish and personalized decals. Drivers didn't just work in these trucks, they showcased them with pride. Culturally, the W900 has appeared in music videos, commercials, and movies. Its design is so iconic that it's still in production today, largely unchanged. That says everything. The Kenworth W900 isn't just number one on this list, it's number one in the hearts of truck lovers across America. These weren't just trucks, they were legends of the American road. Machines that defied time, crossed state lines, hauled dreams, and helped define a generation with their power, sound, and style. Each of these models tells a story of innovation, resilience, and pride. They're more than machines, they're living history, built in steel and driven by passion. So tell me, which of these beasts would you want to see tearing down a modern highway? Which one brought back memories of the golden age of trucking? And if you could own just one, which would it be? If you enjoyed this ride through truck history, hit like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. It really helps the channel grow and tells YouTube this is content worth sharing with fellow truck lovers. And don't forget, every week we drop new videos featuring the most iconic machines ever to hit the highway. See you on the next one.